The first time Clara slid the plate across the counter, she did it with her heart racing and her eyes fixed on the coffee pot, like kindness was something that might get her caught, because the old man didn't ask for food. He never did. Every morning at exactly 6:10 a.m., before the diner filled with truckers and teachers and night shift nurses, he shuffled in with his coat buttoned wrong and his hands trembling from the cold. He sat in the same booth by the window, ordered a small black coffee, and counted out coins that never quite reached the price on the menu. Clara noticed because she'd been there too, counting coins, pretending not to notice how loud hunger can be. The diner was nothing special, vinyl booths cracked with age, a bell above the door that rang too loud. A place people passed through, not a place they stayed. Clara had worked there for 3 years, long enough to memorize everyone's order, long enough to know when someone was struggling even if they never said a word. So that first morning, when the cook wasn't looking, she added a slice of toast to the old man's plate. He stared at it like it was a mistake. "I didn't order that," he said softly. Clara smiled the way waitresses do when they want to keep things light on the house. "Too many slices, otherwise it goes to waste." That was a lie. But he nodded, eyes shining just a little, and ate every bite like it mattered. The next day she added an egg, the day after that half a sandwich. She never made a show of it, never told anyone. She'd ring up the coffee, cover the food herself, and let him keep his dignity. Some mornings he tried to refuse, some mornings he pretended not to notice, but he always ate. And every morning, before he left, he'd look at her and say, "You remind me of my daughter." That line stayed with her long after the bell stopped ringing. Clara didn't know much about him, only that his name was Henry, that he smelled faintly of old paper in winter, that his hands shook less after he ate, that sometimes he'd sit a little straighter, like food did more than fill a stomach. It returned something that had been missing. Weeks passed, then months. Clara's own life wasn't easy. Her mom was sick. Bills stacked up faster than tips. There were nights she went home exhausted, wondering if she was foolish for giving away what little she had. But every morning Henry showed up, and every morning she fed him. Then one morning he didn't. The booth by the window stayed empty. The coffee grew cold. Clara tried not to think about it, but worry has a way of sitting heavy in the chest. The next day, still nothing. On the third day, Clara was wiping the counter when the bell above the door rang. Not once, but twice. 2 black SUVs pulled up outside the diner, sleek and silent, completely out of place in the cracked asphalt parking lot. Men in dark suits stepped out. The diner went quiet. Clara felt her stomach drop. Her first thought was that she'd done something wrong, that maybe kindness came with consequences she hadn't seen coming. One of the men walked in and looked straight at her. "Are you Clara?" he asked. She nodded, hands shaking. "We've been looking for you." The cook froze. Customers stared. Clara's heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Before she could speak, the second man stepped forward and gently placed something on the counter. It was Henry's hat, well worn, soft at the edges. Clara swallowed hard. Is he okay?" The men exchanged a glance. "He passed away yesterday morning," the first one said. The words hit like a wave. Clara felt her eyes burn. I'm so sorry," she whispered, not even sure who she was apologizing to. The man shook his head. "No, he wanted us to thank you." They explained then. Henry wasn't just an old man scraping by. He had once been a successful businessman. He'd lost his wife years ago, then his daughter. Grief hollowed him out. He gave away most of what he had and lived simply, almost invisibly, because being noticed hurt too much. But every morning he came to the diner because someone there treated him like he mattered. In his final days, the man said, "He talked about you more than anyone." Clara covered her mouth, tears spilling freely now. "He said you fed him when you didn't have to, that you never made him feel small, that you reminded him the world was still kind." The man slid an envelope across the counter. Inside was a letter, written in shaky handwriting. "Dear Clara, you fed me when I was hungry, yes, but more than that, you fed my spirit. You gave me mornings to look forward to. Because of you, I didn't feel forgotten. Please accept this, not as payment, but as gratitude." Along with the letter was a check on, enough to pay her mother's medical bills, enough to breathe again. The diner was silent. Clara looked up, overwhelmed, and shook her head. "I didn't do it for this." The man smiled softly. "He knew that. That's why he chose you." The SUV pulled away just as quietly as they arrived, but something stayed behind, something warm. Years later, Clara would still remember that booth by the window. She'd remember how close she came to thinking her kindness didn't matter, how easy it would have been to look away, but she didn't, and because she didn't, 2 lives change forever. That's the thing about kindness. It often works in whispers, not headlines. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand applause. Sometimes it's just a slice of toast slid across a counter, but it echoes, long after the coffee grows cold, long after the booth is empty, because kindness still matters. And sometimes, it's the quietest acts that leave the loudest legacy.